In this comparative analysis, I will analyze the use of and conventions of revenge as they are conveyed within both Old Boy and Unforgiven, along with the differences that arise between the cultural context of each film. Both films demonstrate and exhibit a large portion of their film as revenge narratives, and both display the revenge differently, showing a variation of ways revenge can be implemented within a film. The first film I selected is South Korean director Chan-wook Park revenge thriller Old Boy. The main protagonist is trapped within a prison cell for 15 years without knowing why, and is let out to seek revenge and find out who imprisoned him. It is a very good example of a revenge film because it shows a protagonist with a personal grievance that he feels he must rectify through violence, and the film follows his journey from genesis to resolution. It is the result of a new movement in filmmaking in Asia, Asia Extreme, with very traumatized elements. The second film I'll be analyzing is American director Clint Eastwood's vengeance western, Unforgiven. It is set towards the end of the age of the Wild West, and aging shootist William Money, the protagonist of the film, seeks revenge for wrongs done against a woman from a couple cowboys. However, when Money's friend and partner Ned Logan is killed, he seeks revenge for himself against the sheriff of the town. It comes from a completely different genre than Old Boy, creating a more realistic film from a revisionist Western standpoint. It reflects a time of uncertainty for America, as Unforgiven bred uncertainty into its protagonist. Both films are very good examples of revenge films because they share many of the same conventions of revenge: a wrong against a character of the film, a violent quest for blood to repay for the wrong, and a resolution where the protagonist is satisfied or lives with his actions. They both show revenge as both natural and cataclysmic, and create a very deep reflection of what revenge means to the characters. Both films are very centered on the ethics and the human nature surrounding revenge, and both develop the theme in similar manners. Both Old Boy and Unforgiven develop a similar protagonist in the beginning of their films, with a lot in common between them. Both Odesu of Old Boy and William Money are aging men, unused to violence. Odesu is a family man and a business worker living in South Korea in the 1980s, taking care of his daughter, while William Money is a pig farmer with two children, making a living out on the western plains of 19th century America. He used to be a gunslinger but has rejected the life, afraid he will return to it if he doesn't avoid it completely. Both films use eye-level shots when introducing their protagonists, as if the camera angle suggests that there is nothing more to the characters besides who they are at the time, whether it's a drunk businessman or a struggling pig farmer. The dialogue from both protagonists also serves to develop this unassuming nature. Odesu in Old Boy, while a rambling drunk at the time, is still not out of the ordinary, showing pictures of his family and calling his daughter after he is let out. Money, on the other hand, had a violent past, brought up by the Schofield Kid.
You don't look like no rootin', tootin' son of a bitch and cold-blooded assassin.
However, Money has created a peaceful life for himself farming hogs, as he says.
I ain't like that anymore, kid.
He'd married and settled down, trying to forget his violent past, and the dialogue easily represents this. Both protagonists, under normal circumstances, would not be driven to violent revenge, and both Park and Eastwood want to convey this by representing the characters as neutral and unassuming, creating the protagonist convention of the revenge theme. Old Boy and Unforgiven do not have exactly the same wrong against a character, but both demonstrate the range of reasons a person could seek revenge. In Unforgiven, Money is confronted with an opportunity to commit revenge for a reward, to get back at the cowboys who cut up a woman. While he does not feel any personal connection to the woman wronged, he needs the money to sustain his farm, and takes up the offer. However, much later into the movie, his partner and friend Ned Logan is killed, and he takes revenge because he has lost his friend, and it is much more personal for him. Odesu, on the other hand, was personally wronged. He was locked in jail for 15 years and seeks revenge for all the life he missed during his imprisonment. Both directors understand that the best way to create a theme of revenge is to create a very strong and effective plot point to force the characters to revenge. Both characters seek revenge because they have no other choice, and it makes the theme have much more presence within the film. The mise-en-scène also affects this, whether it is in set development or actor pace. Old Boy and Unforgiven create two different moods through their mise-en-scène, contrasting but both convicting for both characters. Daesu's cell and the subsequent happenings are chaotic and confusing, using low-key lighting to create confusion and a very primal search for revenge from it. He is driven crazy by this cell, and the audience can understand because of the way it is set up. In Unforgiven, Money's farm and Big Whiskey are very sparse and empty, as if revenge comes from a lack of alternatives. Medium shots are used often, more as if the audience is watching, when compared to Old Boy, when many close-up shots are used. It creates two different tones for the films, but the setup for the revenge is very pivotal in both films. Odesu and William Money both take violent actions to make sure that the people who made them and others suffer pain and blood. When Odesu eventually finds the man who managed the building that he had been in for 15 years, he commits retribution by ripping out some of his teeth. The cinematography is very centered on the character Desu is taking revenge on, using very close shots and very little panning, leaving out Desu unless he is doing something important to the scene. Park Chan-wook focuses heavily on this violence in the movie and wants the audience to understand the character committing the act, in this case Odesu. The editing of the scene is also choppy and chaotic, using very rough cuts between sequences that show the passing of time, reflecting how Desu is feeling, setting the mood for his almost bestial revenge. Park, within the scenes, focuses on revealing the bestial core of humanity that civilization usually manages to keep in check. Clint Eastwood's violent revenge is slightly different in nature compared to Park's. When Money finally shoots the man who displayed his friend's dead body outside of his bar, he is cool, collected. The camera is from over the shoulder, giving the audience an almost bystander viewpoint. Eastwood in this film wants to display revenge and violent vengeance as a very cold action, as if away from the human experience. The shots that show the violence are very stable, from logical positions that show the action of the sequence. The editing also conveys this cool tone, hanging on to shots, not cutting them shorter than they can be. Through the editing and cinematography, both Park and Eastwood show two different interpretations of violent revenge, whether it is the hot, bestial version in Old Boy or the cool, without humanity version in Unforgiven. Both Old Boy and Unforgiven use a very cinematic end to the narrative in the end of the movie to symbolize the growth and realizations of the characters. Unlike the other two conventions of revenge as a theme, the resolution between the films is very similar. Both rely heavily on cinematography in order to convey the final tone. The shots showing Money leaving the bar where he'd killed many are all long shots that show Money from afar on his horse, as if the audience is watching him leave. The long shots, along with very heavy use of low-key lighting, also acknowledges all that Money has lost, his friend, his peaceful life. He rides off into the rainy night, physically showing how Money is feeling in these shots. In Old Boy, Odesu willingly forgets the actions of the film with the help of a hypnotist and embraces the woman he loves in the end. Compared to the relatively stable, long and introspective shots showing Money leaving Big Whiskey, the shots with Desu are close up, showing that he's finally close to his love again, and won't leave again. The shots are also more organic in their movement, wobbling slightly, moving smoothly and slowly, especially when showing the chair. Park creates a much more rewarding ending because Odesu has saved his love and he isn't hunted anymore, showing this through the overuse of close-up shots and movements. However, it does not undercut the cost of revenge and highlights that the only thing worse than not getting revenge is getting revenge, as well as what was gained through the journey. Money's ending is just as introspective and final, but the mood lighting and long shots show that he has lost everything he came for, his friend and the money. This creates a tragedy different from the ending in Old Boy. Unforgiven shows the consequences of violence for both killer and the victim. Money is peaceful once again, but is much more to regret.